Hey Allison, so we talk about so many subjects when we bring up our Suddenly Single program. I know that most people seem to center a lot of their concern on division of property being the key issue in a divorce settlement, and we've seen many others. Can you talk about those?
Unfortunately, I can. And the first one I want to mention is child support. In these days of dual income relationships, it's really important to discuss who pays and what amounts. And one of the things that we've seen more recently is that spouses, soon to be ex, divide up the costs, and there are many of child raising. For example, one of the spouses may have a much better health plan under which the child or children can be covered, and so we'll go with that and negotiate for the rest. Then there's schooling, whether it's private school or public school with tons of extra expenses. And you know what those expenses are. They come out of the woodwork. You know, whether it's a field trip or supplies or intramural sports, those expenses don't go away just because you separate.
And on the topic of college, if a college savings plan has been initiated, who contributes and in what amounts?
That's always something that has to be negotiated. Um, and it's important to work out as well who claims the child or children on his or her tax return. We've seen so many couples who can't agree, and they ended up going the route of, you know, one year is the ex-wife, one year is the ex-husband.
And there's the ever popular spousal support or spousal maintenance. Normally, the higher earning, soon to be ex spouse ends up paying. And that's not always the case. We've seen litigation drag out as maintenance amounts and amounts of time are contested.
Absolutely. And as you well know, it's usually the spouse who has the more complete, more effective financial plan that dials in a lot of these what ifs, who can come to the table better informed and better prepared. Um, Speaking of which, let's talk about the family homestead. Um, as you know, many, many, many times, someone sort of in the shock of the divorce says, oh, of course I'll remain in the home, or I want to remain in the home. And then because of emotional issues, changes his or her mind. So it gets complex, no question about it. What we do is supply the uh, financials and, frankly, some of the mathematics behind it.
One of the main things not to forget is, of course, debts. If both spouses are on the line for a certain debt obligation, they often end up paying their share. However, we've also run into certain circumstances where one of the spouses was not aware he or she was not responsible for a certain loan. It just kind of came out of the woodworks.
And it's not uncommon, no question. Retirements, retirement accounts also are necessary to be negotiated, and beneficiaries changed. I can't emphasize how important that is because often beneficiaries are automatically the spouse. So, one of the things that, and I don't need to remind you, uh, that we've found the most difficult is business interests, because businesses are not appraised. You know, they're not marked to market like some of our investments are. They can be time consuming, they can be expensive, and they're almost always controversial. What one spouse considered a business that kept them in good stead for years and years and years, all of a sudden has become a puny, non high yielding investment. So that's a topic that we are seeing a lot, especially after COVID, where so many small businesses were started, and the opportunity to divide it up becomes a little murky.
And as a last reminder, I don't want to forget about insurance. What kind of amounts of insurance will protect the interests of both parties and who pays for it?
That's a really good point. And, during this video, we've made a stab at some of the most popular, in quotes, issues that need to be ironed out before a divorce takes place. And as you know, each relationship has its own special situation. So we have worked with all sorts, some surprising in their intensity, and we probably will continue to work with all sorts in the future.
Thank you, Alison, for sharing some key points about what to look out for when going through a divorce settlement. I think it shed a lot of light on important things that people need to think about.
Thank you.